Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a slightly revamped TBR takedown. So last year I was trying to do these videos because I have like close to 600 or over 600 books on my physical TBR, and you know, the way that I was trying to do them just felt overwhelming because I had such a large pool to pick from, and I just felt like I wasn't making progress through it, and I also was reading so many books from my physical TBR, not in these videos, and anyway, it needed to be fixed is where we're going with that. So I do still have that many books on my physical TBR, but this year I really wanted to try to focus on like a specific subset of my TBR, and that is like an immediate TBR list from back in 2024. So I have like this entire little cute notebook. It came in like one of my subscription boxes when I was getting like the entire box, and when I got this, I decided to write down all of the books on my TBR starting in 2024. So all the books that I'd had prior to then. And then like after that, I started writing like an entirely new section that were like books that I had purchased when I was there. So that means that all of these books, like the first 16 pages of this, are ones that I had in 2024, so 2 years ago now, and probably much earlier than 2024 as well. Like I know some of these I got when I worked at Barnes & Noble back in 2018. So I have a lot on this list that I've just been putting off because, like, let's be honest, everybody has those squirrel moments, those ooh, look at the shiny new thing moments where you gravitate towards the books that are more recently put on your TBR, and these other ones just kind of fall away and you don't gravitate towards them. I'm very bad about putting these on my monthly TBRs. So I decided each month I'm going to try to do one of these TBR takedown videos focusing on books from this list. This year I'm also trying to be a lot better about DNFing books that I'm not enjoying. I don't know why I continue to push myself through books that like midway through I know are most likely going to be 2-star reads. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I really want to try to stop doing that. So I'm going to try to really be a little bit more conscientious, especially when getting through this old list of actually getting myself to DNF. And like I've been doing pretty good with it this year. I think I had like 4 DNFs in January. So a little bit disappointing when it turns out that way, but you know, that is what it is. So we are going to start with my first TBR video for this. So there are 184 written out in this list. I've already read 42 of them on here and have them crossed off, which means there are 142 books left to read off of this list. Ish. And I say ish because I was irritating and wrote, like, here's an example. The first one on here is the Matched series. This has 3 books in it, but I wrote it as one little option. Do I know why I did that? No. Doesn't mean that I don't have quite an accurate representation of how many books are in the list. Yes, unfortunately, but you know, that is what it is at this point. So I'm going to start my first official TBR takedown video of 2026 with a 24-hour reading challenge. And I do already have some of the options for the reading challenge. These are ones that were actually either put on this month's TBR or they were from a TBR video from last year that I still haven't gotten to. My boyfriend Dan picked my TBR for February, and he actually ended up putting quite a few on the list that were in this category already, and I did already read some of them, so these are the ones that I still have left. The first is The Cellar by Natasha Preston, and then there's Hate List by Jennifer Brown. This one's a chunky one. So those are on my TBR for February, so we'll be hitting 2 birds with 1 stone on that one. And then We Must Be Brave was on a TBR from last year, and then of course my January TBR, because I was trying to get to all the ones that I didn't get to last year, obviously still didn't get to it. So this one really needs to get accomplished in this video. So we're going to start with those 3, and then if I do manage to get through those in the 24 hours, I will see what else we decide to pick from this list. So this is going to be a really informal 24-hour reading challenge. It's not going to be all the way through. I'm going to sleep, I'm going to take breaks and go to the gym, do house chores, stuff like that. If I can find them on audio, I might listen to them on audio while I'm doing other things, but if not, I'll just stop the timer and we'll see how much I get through. I have the entire weekend kind of to myself. Dan's away. I really don't have anything pressing to do other than like go and visit Lincoln in the vet hospital a couple times, and that's really about it. It's a gloomy, kind of rainy weekend, and I think that a 24-hour reading challenge is a good thing to keep my mind off of some of the stuff that's going on in my life. So anyway, without further ado, we will officially start the timer. And we'll see how much I can get through. We're gonna pause that. Probably should have picked which book we're gonna read first. I feel like I need to read this one first just because it's been on the TBRs for so long. So we're gonna start with this one. That way I know for sure this is getting accomplished, and then we will jump into the other two. This is set in Southampton, England. The city residents are fleeing to surrounding villages because it's in 1940 when German bombs are falling on the villages. This is part of one of the world wars. It says that in Uptown Village, amid the chaos, newly married Ellen Parr finds a girl asleep unclaimed at the back of an empty bus. So she decides that she's going to take this child in, give it a home, because obviously she has nobody with her. And they end up like forming this attachment with this child as the war continues on. But eventually the war does end, and with the end of fighting comes the realization that Pamela was never theirs to keep. Spanning the sweep of the 20th century, We Must Be Brave explores the fierce, loyal love that we feel for our children and the power of love to endure beyond distance, beyond time, and beyond life itself. It sounds like it's going to be really sad, probably really moving. Most World War I, World War II centered books are very moving, so we'll see what I think about this one. But yeah, this is going to be the start to the challenge, and now I can actually hit play on this. Okay, so we're an hour into this, and I am 76 pages into the book, and I was right. This is going to be really sad. This little girl is only 5. She's turning 6 soon, and all she keeps asking is like where her mother is. And they tried really hard to find her mother for her through like just different clues that the kid's able to give her, and then they actually found like her name and her address sewn into some of her clothing, but they find out that the mother did in fact pass away, so they have to tell her that, and like it's just heartbreaking to think about the amount of children that probably was a reality for in this period of time where they just lost their parents completely unexpectedly, or they got separated from them because of all the chaos going on. The family also has 3 young boys with them that are evacuees, so their family still is alive, but there's that constant threat that maybe something is going to happen to them while they are not at home, living somewhere that's supposed to be a little bit safer. So that's also equally as sad. It's also, though, it has its comedic moments because it's a 5-year-old girl that is just like all over the place and obviously doesn't want to be with this family because she doesn't know them at all. So she gets into quite the amount of trouble. She's has her rotten moments where she just doesn't listen, and then she acts like a little angel, and it's very comedic. I feel like it's written in a way that captures a 5-year-old very, very well. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it. I'm also just enjoying the way that little bits of history are explained in here, and the way that sort of food rations and different things in this time period functioned. It's not, it's hard to explain, but it's not a really like in-your-face writing style where it's like paragraphs and paragraphs of like boring expose or boring history lessons. It's just like woven into the narrative really seamlessly, so I'm enjoying that. There's hints that there's definitely like a past that the main female, Ellen, what her childhood looked like, hints that maybe it wasn't a very good childhood and she's tried to kind of repress that. There's also an interesting dynamic where she's 21 and her husband is 41, and I'm not really sure if that's going to play into this at all, like why she got married to someone significantly older than her. I can't really tell if it was because they actually like loved each other and they just happened to be that far apart, or if there's a little bit more to it than that. I might just be overthinking it in all honesty. But yeah, I'm liking this actually. It's a really quick read. I was really surprised when it turned around and I was 70 pages into it and it already like an hour into reading. So I think I'll be able to breeze through this one. Maybe not like time-wise very quickly, but like I feel like it's not going to be one that I'm slogging through because it's really dense, which some historical fiction can be. So I'm excited about that. Something that I didn't expect out of this book is that it actually has like different timelines. So the first few chapters were actually like the first 90 or so pages were set in 1940, I believe. Yeah, 1940. And then we got to a section that is actually earlier than that, and it's in 1932 to 1935, following Ellen as well. So it kind of gives it the opportunity to see what her childhood was like, because like I said, there were hints that it wasn't really a good upbringing, but you're not entirely sure why. Just like a lot of discussion around her growing up without food and understanding what true, like, bone deep cold is like. And she sort of uses that as the reason why they should keep this young girl that they found, Pamela, and take care of her, because despite the fact that there's this war going on and that they already have these 3 evacuees living with them and not a lot of food and everything like that, she's like, I am the most well equipped to take care of this child, because I know what it's like to go without food, I know what it's like to go without warmth, and how to know, like, that it's not going to be the end of my life, which means I can go without and give what I do have to this child. So it's very like selfless woman, a very selfless mother figure, and it's ironic because, like, she says that she doesn't want children, but she's fighting so desperately hard to keep Pamela. And you just learn more about her and just sort of the suffering that she went through at a time when it wasn't even wartime, and then, like, the fact that she is now going through this again kind of because of the war just makes it even more heartbreaking and sad. But like I said, I'm still really enjoying this writing style. It's just so fast-paced and, like I said, seamless in the way that it's putting in historical facts. So I'm really, really enjoying this actually quite a lot, and I'm very curious what the other time periods are going to be that we get in here. I'm going to assume maybe, like, jump back to, like, the 1940s, but maybe even it would be kind of fun to see if we, like, extend a lot further beyond that to when Pamela is much older. But I don't really know. I'm getting ahead of myself in that regard. But yeah, just thought I'd check in. Okay, so we are 4 hours and 40 minutes into this challenge, and I officially finished We Must Be Brave. Apologies for my voice, it's getting late into the day and I've been sick, and this is what it sounds like after, like, an entire day. So I'll try to, like, get through this pretty quick so you don't have to listen to this for super long. I will say, like, as moving as this was, I feel like the jumping back and forth in the timeline thing took away a lot of our chance to really connect with these 2 characters, with Ellen and Pamela. I just feel like we didn't get enough time of them together before the inevitable separation that they ended up having, and I feel like that lack of time together meant that, like, the bond that they were supposed to have formed, the reader didn't get to really experience that and feel that connection and see that bond growing over time as Pamela learns to accept her new life and come to love Ellen as a mother figure and then lose her as well. And I think this would have been more moving if we'd had that. And then it also felt like it just got a little bit long near the end and was kind of dragging on. This is like 450 pages, which is a little bit long for a historical fiction. I mean, some are really long, but this one, I guess, because I wasn't getting what I really wanted out of it, I just wasn't interested in the extension of the story with the way that it was going. So maybe a me problem. Other people might really have enjoyed that. I just wanted more, like I said, of the development of the relationship between these 2, and then the separation and stuff. I feel like it would have been much more powerful and moving. Still really sad overall, and still a very heartfelt story, just not the direction that I thought it was going to go. So it's still a 3-star read, and like I said, first book of the challenge done. But I am going to bed because I'm tired. Obviously, like I said, I'm getting over being sick, so I just don't really have much more time left in me today. So I will check back in with you guys tomorrow when we start the timer back up. Good morning, everyone. So up nice and, well, kind of nice and early for me, early for a night shifter. The sun is still out, so that's fantastic. Definitely want to try to get through at least 10 hours of the challenge today. Really need to push myself to stay awake, to flip my sleep schedule back around after like a week and a half on day shift, so this is like the perfect opportunity to do that. And I'm very, very excited to get back into my reading. So out of the ones that I had already picked, we still have The Cellar and Hate List to read. I do think that I want to read something a little bit shorter because, like I said last night, We Must Be Brave kind of felt like it was dragging on a little bit near the end there, and Hate List is a 513 page book. So yeah, I think I want something a little bit shorter, although this kind of feels like it's a little dense too. Okay, 356, so significantly shorter. This is also YA, so I feel like this is going to go very, very quickly. So I think I might have said this already, but I'm not sure. But this one, it follows a young girl who is trapped in a cellar for months during the summer, along with 3 other girls, and he names them Rose, Poppy, and Violet, the other 3 girls. And they are his perfect, pure flowers, his family, but flowers can't survive long, cut off from the sun, and time is running out. And it looks like her name is Lily. So I am assuming that this follows the story of them getting out of the cellar, but I don't know for sure. Obviously, that's an extremely short description, but one can assume that that is where this storyline is going to go. So we'll jump right into this one, see how far I can get. The last time I read Natasha Preston, I was a little bit underwhelmed. Definitely too YA for me, especially as somebody that does enjoy reading thrillers, reading mysteries, suspense. It just didn't have those elements that I needed it to have. It wasn't very intriguing, wasn't very captivating. Works for a YA audience, but not somebody that is now almost 30 years old. So hopefully this one does a little bit better. I know people really like her books, and I do have at least 2 other ones that I can see staring at me over there. So I would like to not dislike all of them, but you know, it is what it is. That's what I get for buying this super long ago when I might have enjoyed it a little bit more and then not reading it. So we're gonna read it now. We're gonna get these off of the list. So anyway, without further ado, we're gonna start this because I'm done rambling. So I've been reading for about an hour now, and I'm 118 pages into this. It is still definitely very YA writing, and I feel like the plotline thus far is not very original. If you've seen any like Criminal Minds episodes, it's very reminiscent of that, with this guy's opinions on certain lifestyles that women choose to have. And then that's kind of like what he's using to justify why he is taking these girls. So not very original in that regard. It actually has a couple different point of views, which I wasn't expecting. It follows Lily. Her name's not actually Lily, it's Summer, but he renames her Lily. He's the most recent girl that he took. It follows her boyfriend who is trying to find her. And then you get some past timelines of the main male character, who they're supposed to be calling Clover, and sort of him setting this all up, and like I think it's supposed to be kind of giving us a view into his motivations and his mindset. So it's not terrible. Like I said, it's definitely very YA writing. I found like a couple sentences where they're not written correctly. Like what they're attempting to say, like it was like he was trying to say, I'm glad you're not that type of woman, but the not wasn't in there. So like there's little grammatical errors throughout that just speak to a little bit of a lack of editing, which is frustrating. I don't think I want a DNF just because I'm willing to try and sort of rate this based off of like a subjective viewpoint, not so much like the fact that I've read a ton of I don't know, like I want to try to view this through the lens of somebody that's more the audience that this is geared towards and read it that way. And obviously I need to get like to the end of a suspense thriller most of the time to kind of really get a good idea of what my rating is going to be based off the way they end, because obviously the ending in these is normally where like things go crazy and everything can either resolve itself or go absolutely off the rails. So yeah, I don't really want to DNF it. It's also really easy to fly through. Like 118 pages in an hour is crazy, but it's just such simplistic writing. So I do think I'm just going to continue pushing through this and see where we can go from here. Probably not going to check in too much with this one just because I don't want to give it away a ton for the plot line and everything, but obviously, who knows? We'll see if I have something else to say before the end of it. If not, I will check back in when I'm done with it. Okay, so very exciting news. I did finish The Cellar, but in more exciting news, Lincoln is finally home. I posted like a video a little bit ago, like a short, mentioning that he'd been in a vet hospital, and I finally brought him home. It's been like 2 weeks of dealing with like really severe pancreatitis that led to some other complications that led to him being hospitalized for like a week, and yeah, it's been miserable. It's been really, really tough, and I missed my baby, so I'm very happy that he's home. He's still not completely better. He has like 8 different meds that he's on, so that's gonna be fun to keep track of, but I'm just glad that he's home. He's all tired out from the drive because it was like an hour and a half away, but I'm really happy that he's home. Anyway, back to the reading. Actual reading portion of this video. So like I said, I did finish The Cellar. I was able to thankfully get like the book on through like Libby on my Kindle, and I was reading it while I was waiting at the vet to get him picked up and everything. And I don't know, it's just, I think I'm at like a 2.5 star on that. I was hoping that it was gonna wrap up in a little bit more satisfying of a way, but it really just didn't give anything. Like the plot line really did just continue in a very predictable way, and like I said before, like very reminiscent of a Criminal Minds episode as far as like the motivations behind everything. It just wasn't unique, and it really just, like I said, didn't give anything. So I think maybe a younger audience would like it. I don't really know for this one specifically, like just because it wasn't very, like, you weren't on the edge of your seat the entire time. You kind of thought you knew where the entire storyline was going. So there was no, like, twist at the end. There was nothing super uncertain about the entire book. So I just, yeah, I don't know if it would hit for younger audience at all either, but it definitely was kind of a miss for me. So only 2.5 stars for that one, unfortunately. I do think I'm probably just going to get through the Natasha Preston books that I have and then probably never buy her books again because they're just not 2 at this point. I'll give, like, normally 3 strikes and we're done. So anyway, not to harp on that too much, we will actually find it in my little planner and cross it off. I'm not even sure what number this would be. Let's see, what number? Well, I scrolled too far forward, that's why I can't find it. Silly me. There it is, 139. Alrighty, so got that one done. Okay, so we're just going to jump right into another heavy book because, like I said, I want to make sure to get the ones that are on my monthly TBR, our previous monthly TBR is done before I pick any new ones off the list. So that means we are going to be going into Hate List, and that this is about a young girl whose boyfriend opened fire in their school cafeteria 5 months prior to present day. She has her own serious injury, but she's implicated in the crime because she made a list with her boyfriend of people that they hated. This is the list that he based his targets on. So she has a summer of seclusion, but now she's forced to confront her guilt and return to school to complete her senior year. She's haunted by the memory of the boyfriend she still loves and navigating rocky relationships with her family, her former friends, and the girl whose life she saved. And she has to come to grips with the tragedy that took place and her role in it in order to make amends and move on with her life. So yeah, this sounds like it's going to be really, really sad. Really, really heavy. Unfortunately, a relevant topic line in today's society anymore, so like that's unfortunate. So yeah, we'll see how I feel about this one once I'm done. This is not really keeping in theme with the more upbeat feelings that I have had since bringing Lincoln home, but you know, what can I say? I have 16 hours and 22 minutes left on the timer, so plenty of time to knock this one out, and then we can get on to maybe some happier ones, hopefully. So I kind of fell off last night a little bit. Trying to do a 24-hour reading challenge while sick was maybe not the best move because, like, I just don't have a ton of energy, and, like, I wasn't able to fall asleep really quick last night. Like, I was still tired, but I was still awake, but I was tired enough that I didn't feel like reading it physically, so I did find an audiobook on Libby, and I actually like went outside of the book that I was reading. I couldn't find Hate List on Libby at all. It was on Spotify, but I already used most of my hours for the month, so I think I got 2 chapters in, and then it told me I'd run out. So unfortunately didn't get to finish this. I haven't talked much about this. Well, we're gonna go on a tangent really quick. I haven't updated too much about this because I know that this could be like a really, really triggering topic. It's really heavy, the content that's in here, so I didn't really feel like I should be talking about it too much. I'm enjoying the honest look that this is giving at it, and the way that some people can sort of spiral into these situations and maybe not even realize that they're happening, not realize that they're happening to the people around them, and then sort of what the aftermath can look like. And I think it's handling it in a way that's built for a YA audience, so obviously I don't think it goes into like as much of it as it could as an adult lens, but looking at it from YA lens, I do think that it's going really far into this. I think I'm, oh goodness, how far am I into this? Let's see. I think I made it to 22. I keep forgetting to use my bookmarks, I don't know why. I made it to page 20, or chapter 20, page 20. Chapter 20, I'm at page 241, so I'm over halfway through this. And then for my audiobook, I did end up picking The Shack. I was just kind of randomly trying to find ones that I knew were on this list without actually having a list to reference, because I was too lazy to come downstairs and get it. And a bunch of them just weren't available for weeks, or they weren't even on Libya's audiobooks. So this was the first one that I found that actually was not starting a new series, because I didn't want to start a new series right now. And this one is about a man who went on vacation with his kids. Like, he went camping with them while his wife was, I think, visiting her sister or something like that. And during this trip, his youngest daughter is abducted, and everybody presumes, based off of a bunch of different factors, that she is no longer alive after this abduction. And one of the things that they find is like this shack where they think that she was taken to. Her clothing is found there and stuff. And this is kind of where, in his brain, it cements the idea that he's no longer going to be able to get his daughter back. 4 years later, he gets this weird note in his mailbox that he thinks is from God, telling him to come meet him at this shack. So he decides to go to the shack and walks into his biggest nightmare. It says it's this whole concept of him sort of addressing his the way that this tragedy affected him and his relationship with faith and with God. And God is actually like depicted as a being that he can interact with and talk with in this shack, and he spends like a weekend with them. So it's obviously a very Christian book, very heavy on theology. I am almost done with it. I think I only have like 60 pages left. The audiobook's pretty short. Theology wasn't something that I studied very heavily in school or in college, but I do think while this brings up a lot of very important topics surrounding tragedy and the way that people handle tragedy and the way that that sort of contradicts the idea of faith and religion and a loving God, I'm not sure that this is necessarily super theologically accurate, just with some of the stuff that it's talking about. And I don't want to comment too heavily on that because I don't know a ton of theology and stuff. I just, if you happen to be a Christian that's curious about reading this, or you're not a Christian but you're curious about the religion, I know that some people reference this as a good place to start. I don't know if it would be, because I think it could be maybe a little bit harmful in your development of understanding that. But anyway, yeah, just to caveat that a little bit. We're going to move on from that though. So I do have 11 hours and 1 minute left on the timer so far. So I will very easily be able to finish both of these through the course of the day and then get into the next ones. We'll see what else I decide to pick up. So I got a little distracted for a little bit there. Excuse me, doing some stuff, got a shower, everything, and just trying to get some life back into Lincoln over here because he's not very cheery today since bringing him home, which is concerning. But anyway, I did finish both of these books. So this one was a 4-star read. I know I didn't talk about it a lot. Like I said, it's just a very triggering topic for a lot of people for multiple different reasons, like the main storyline, but also the struggles that they're talking about behind the scenes. It's just a lot. So that was why I decided not to really talk about this too much, but I do still think this was handled so well. and really dove into more than just like that very big traumatic thing, but like also the things that led up to it and the way that different people handled that afterwards, the aftermath of all of that. And it just like it was such a deep exploration of this topic, but still in a way that, like I said, YA people, a YA audience could read this and not have it be too much, but still get a good understanding of it. So I did really enjoy this one. I don't know if I would recommend it just because it's so dark, but I did enjoy that one quite a bit. And then I did finish The Shack, and the more that I got into this, the more that I just didn't like it. I didn't really like the ending of this. I just felt like the idea of this man sort of having this complete 180 on his thoughts, feelings, and everything like that in a weekend after like 4 years just didn't seem very realistic to me. Like I said, the theology in here I wasn't sure that I necessarily agreed with. And then at the end, the author chose to kind of reveal something or like resolve something that I just felt like it undid a lot of the work that was done in the book, regardless of if I agreed with the way it was done. So I just didn't like that either. So this ended up being a 2-star read. Definitely wouldn't recommend that one either, but for different reasons. So I did pick 2 more books that I'm hopeful to get through in this video. I have 7 hours left, so I think that's plenty of time to get through these 2, especially because this one's really short. I know I said I didn't really want to start a new series, but I only own the one in this series, and I kind of just got it because I think it's The Princess Diaries. Not sure if you can read the tiny title. Really enjoyed the movie. It's just such a cute rom-com, like typical lovable rom-com, and I wanted to see what the book was like. So I don't really think I'm going to end up wanting to continue this series. It would surprise me if I did, but I do want to at least read this first one while I have it. I think I found this in like a little free library or something, so that's why I picked it up at some point. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have, because this is very much out of my age range anymore. But I needed something cute and fluffy at this point, in all honesty, because yeah, I've been reading some heavy ones, but then we're gonna get right back into heavy ones because apparently like that's what I'm gravitating towards. I don't really know why, but I really wanted some more mystery thrillers and stuff. And this is The Marsh King's Daughter. This is about a woman named Helena who has a loving husband, 2 beautiful daughters, and a business that fills her days, but she also has a secret. She's the product of an abduction. When her mother was a teenager, she was abducted by this man. The man is Helena's father. So obviously you can sort of piece together what happens during that abduction. Her family does not know this, like her new family, her husband, her children, most of the world don't know that this had happened to her mother and that she grew up in this environment, living in the marsh with her father and her mother. One day, 20 years later, she's buried her past so soundly that even her husband doesn't know the truth, but now her father has killed 2 guards, escaped from prison, and disappeared into the marsh. The police begin a manhunt, but Helena knows they don't stand a chance. Only one person has the skills to find the survivalist the world calls the Marsh King, because only one person was ever trained by him, his daughter. So this one sounds like it's going to be really good. Like I said, I don't know why, but I'm kind of in the mood for mystery thrillers or suspense thrillers, and I think this one would definitely hit. And this one's also relatively short. This is just under 300 pages. This one's only like 225, so plenty of time to finish both of these, hopefully, in the next 7 hours. So I'm not very far into this, but it definitely is very different than the movie. For one thing, her dad is still alive in the beginning of this, which is interesting. Did not expect that. So I'm not really sure where we get to the whole her needing to take over this country. It's also written in journal entries, which I think is kind of fun. Very teenager, high school teenager style journal entries. So it's just a cute, fun read so far. Okay, so did not get everything accomplished in the weekend like I thought I was going to. I still have about 4 hours and I forget how close to 5 hours left on the timer. I really should have been able to finish it last night, but little Lincoln was not feeling good, and I ended up having to redirect attention to trying to get him to eat, trying to just manage his symptoms coming home from the vet, and still dealing with this pancreatitis nonsense. I hate it so much. But that is not the point. It happens, life happens. I don't really care. If you care, I do apologize that this is not the most strict 24-hour reading challenges. One day maybe I will be able to get back to those, but it's just not today. So, books that I was in the middle of, I did make it 100 pages into The Princess Diaries, and I think I like the movie better, actually, which is very unusual, but it just was such a quintessential chick flick, especially for like girls in high school. I liked the way that they sort of handled the reveal for her being princess of this country. It's hard getting behind a completely new character. Not saying that I wanted her dad to be dead in the movies, it's just, you know, they just felt like the dynamic between the two of them was very different. She had different feelings about him. In the book, she just doesn't seem to care too much about her father, and you could tell in the movie that she wanted to have that relationship. So things were just drastically different. The relationship with the grandmother was very different. I loved the relationship that was developed with the grandmother in the movies. I just don't see that developing in the book. I could be wrong. I still have like 125 pages. I just don't see it going that way. Lily, the best friend in the movie, she had some questionable moments for sure. Maybe not the best friend that you could ask for, but she's really not great in the book. Like, she puts Mia down all the time and just says like the worst things, and I'm like, you just aren't a great person for her. Like, I don't know, all the dynamics are just so different and less fun in the book as compared to the movie. So yeah, I'm pretty solidly decided already that I won't end up continuing through this series, which is kind of what I thought when I ended up picking it anyway, but it's nice to have that comparison to kind of see where it came from. So we're gonna get into this. I'm gonna start my timer back up. I guess that means I can figure out exactly how much time I actually do have left. So it is, oh, okay, it is 5 hours and 12 minutes. I don't know why I thought I was down to 4 or something. So we'll start the timer. We're just gonna let this run. If I get distracted again, if I have to do stuff for Lincoln, if I have to do stuff around the house and I can't be reading, I'm not pausing anymore. That's what I've been doing all weekend. It takes a lot longer doing it that way. This is finishing today, one way or another. So we'll see how much I can actually get through in the 5 hours and 12 minutes without stopping the timer. But yeah, anyway, gonna get back into this now. All right, so the 24-hour challenge has officially ended, and I did finish The Princess Diaries. Like I said, very YA. It's still a 3-star read. I think for the audience that it's intended for, people would really enjoy this. Although I do still enjoy the movie more, which I know is very unusual. I normally say that I prefer the book, but I did enjoy this. There's like 6 books in this series. Definitely not going to be continuing through it, but it was kind of fun, nostalgic to read that. Then I did start The Marsh King's Daughter. I only got a few chapters into this between just running around, trying to do stuff before work and just, you know, life things. So I haven't really gotten too far beyond like the initial setup of this. The main female character, like I said, her name is Helena, and she is the product of an abduction and an assault, and she grew up in the wilderness pretty much from the time that she was born until, I think she said she was a teenager. I forget how long she said that she was living there. Let's see if I can find it really quick. 12 years. She lived in the wilderness, in the marsh, for 12 years. And we just got to the part where she found out that her father has escaped, and she's sort of just looking back over her life and where she has ended up, her family that she has, these 2 little girls that she has, and some of it's kind of funny in a tragic way, where she's looking and going, like, these little girls have no idea. Like, their mom lived on the land, I can do X, Y, Z, and like, they're afraid of bees. And they have electricity, and they have no idea how good they have it, but like, she loves that for them, and it's just a really sad sort of reminiscence that she is having. But I think that I'm going to really enjoy that. The writing style is very, very quick and just captivating so far. So I think that I'll end up flying through that pretty quickly once I finish it. So we're gonna find The Princess Diaries and mark that off really quick, and then we'll be good to go. Alrighty, Princess Diaries was 131. So we got that checked off. So that means I had 142 books on that list before I started. I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So quick mental math, that means that I ended up finishing or getting the number down to 137, I think. Yep, 137. Had to, you know, I got it right, and then I still used my fingers to count. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that we can keep trekking along with this throughout the year. My goal is to maybe get it down to like 75. That's a lot, but you know, we're gonna try. That's the goal, to get that number down to 75 by the end of the year. So yeah, pretty happy with the amount of books that I got through, and thank you so much if you've watched until this point in the video. I hope to see you guys in another one very soon. Bye.